Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So happy spring. One of the best things that happened this past month was that at my workplace we hired another individual who is one of those single for life kind of personalities. And it really helps to have an ally so that anything that I do is not unique to the organization. Because a lot of times, I hate to use the word here, but there's a lot of old blood in the office where I work. I have two colleagues who are in their 70s and a few that are in their 40s and 50s. And they get set in their own ways. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that in a way that they when they hear something that's foreign, they think it's unimportant. So, for example, part of the reason I was allowed to go on vacation this week was because I kept it very vague. I said, I just want some downtime, and kept it at that. And in the past, I've had problems because my colleagues couldn't relate to what I was doing. So I was working at, they have since folded, but I was working at a startup university in Seattle. And my colleagues had a hard time understanding why I needed to go compete in the Computer Olympiad. They had a hard time understanding why I would go to stargazing events. They had a hard time understanding why various things, right? Why sometimes, 3 years ago when I started doing intermittent fasting, a lot of times there was a lot of adjustments, and I would faint in the middle of the day and have to reschedule things, and that drove a lot of my coworkers crazy. Now, I want to ask you something. If you had a coworker who was desperately trying to quit drinking, and they occasionally had a withdrawal symptom, would you be uncomfortable with that? Right? That's the equivalent of what I was going through 3.5 years ago. But we live in a society where binge eating is perfectly acceptable. In fact, it's a great way to bond with your colleagues, right? That's the society we live with, right? Imagine that drinking were the equivalent of what binge eating is like in America, right? You go to a meeting at work and you're expected to have a bottle up to your lips like almost the whole meeting, any social occasions, and the moment you try to quit doing that and you have any sort of symptom involved, right? You're not a team player anymore, right? We live in a foodaholic society, unfortunately. But a lot of my colleagues, there's just too much old blood running through the system. Now, I was at a county fair last week when I had a little bit of problem getting on a ride that I wanted to ride because you needed somebody to ride with, and nobody at the fair could understand. I spent 30 minutes waiting in line asking if anybody would ride with me, and then I went to customer service to explain my situation, and they blew me off. And to be honest, I don't really care that much about that ride. It was one thing in a sea of problems that I run into as a single individual, and part of me worries about when I have other ambitions in life, how many barriers I'm going to run into. Right, one day hopefully I'm going to settle down and move somewhere permanently, right? Not be a nomad like I am right now, right? Different city every year, right? One day I might meet a best friend forever, a non-romantic partner, right? One day I might, hopefully I'll retire one day, and because I won't have any children, I might move into a nursing home one day. Part of me worries about how much better justice we'll have towards solosexual individuals when those days come. But part of me, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of looking forward to when the baby boom generation goes away and some of this old blood goes away with them, right? Generation X is definitely a lot more open-minded, if a little bit different. I don't have a problem. I actually identify more with Generation Z than I do with Y. So part of me gets excited about baby boomers, and to a lesser extent Generation X going away and having a fresh societal start, right? I hate to say it like that, but new ideas is how I would put it. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.